This morning, the federal government trying to right wrongs from the past. Transportation Secretary Pete Budaj bringing money to Texas for that purpose and taking our questions about plans for his own political future. Travis County already has the priciest real estate in Texas. It also has the most expensive childcare. County Judge Andy Brown on a plan to eliminate property taxes for daycare centers. Question is, though, will parents actually see any savings? Two things to keep an eye on in Congress this week. Representative Tony Gonzalez on how these two issues might unfold. And will Dade Phelan debate David Covey, his Republican challenger? We'll tell you about the back and forth in Beaumont.
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good Sunday morning. I'm Jason Whiteley. Let's start with the top political headlines happening across our state this weekend. House Speaker Dade Phelan says he wants to debate his Republican rival in next month's runoff. Phelan said he accepted an invitation from a TV station in Beaumont, but David Covey said he has not received a formal invite from a neutral third party, so it remains uncertain whether we will see the two conservatives face to face before their runoff election May 28th. Lots of eyes on a famously conservative court to see what judges decide to do with the state's SB 4 immigration law. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals heard arguments Wednesday and decided to keep the law on hold while it considers the constitutionality of it. In arguing to save the law, Texas's Solicitor General Aaron Nielsen said, quote, "Maybe Texas went too far. That's the question this court is going to have to decide, and that is a decision we're all waiting for." And should Texas start its own firefighting Air Force? It's one of the things under consideration after the worst wildfire in state history last month in the Texas Panhandle. Texas Tribune reporting the state has to rent firefighting planes right now, but many of those they normally rent were being serviced when Texas was on fire. The state's own fleet of firefighting aircraft would cost taxpayers about $50 million. You know, it is not often we see government trying to right wrongs from the past, but Texas is getting almost $250 million to do just that, to build new deck parks, pedestrian bridges, and outdoor spaces over highways that have divided communities in Dallas and Austin, McKinney, Houston, and San Antonio. Transportation Secretary Pete Budaj in Dallas discussing it the other day and taking our questions on how Texas made the cut, along with plans for his own political future.
Mr. Secretary, good to see you again. This money was very competitive. How in the world did Texas make the cut? There are, I think, a half dozen different projects across the state.
That's right. We saw some excellent applications from Texas, and that's why we were able to fund projects like the one we're celebrating today. What we saw was really a combination of features. Benefit to safety, a benefit to economic development, an equity benefit. What I mean by that is you have neighborhoods that were really harmed by some of the past decisions. They're going to benefit, everybody's going to benefit from these. That's even going to mean cleaner air because they're adding parkland. There's just very compelling projects, and they're the kind of thing we had in mind when we worked to get this kind of funding, this kind of programming into that infrastructure package.
40 states are getting this money. You were in Alabama yesterday, you're in Texas today. Why are you doing the southern states right now? Why are we making the cut on that?
Well, you know, some of the classic examples of where you have a highway that divided a neighborhood, but a project to reunite those neighborhoods, many of those examples are in the South, although I should note they are all around the country. Buffalo, St. Paul, Minnesota. It's hard to find a place in the U.S. where this didn't happen. And that's one of the reasons why we're investing in projects all over.
One aspect of transportation there's been a lot of talk about in Texas is high-speed rail. Amtrak and a private entity are talking about, studying at least, the idea between Dallas and Houston. That's been talked about forever in the state. How likely do you think that really is, maybe the next decade?
You know, I have to say, I think this geography is one of the best candidates in the entire country for a project like that. And the reason I say that is you have two major population centers that are a long drive or a very short flight away.
Is it likely though, do you think? Do you think this could get off the ground?
You know, for a long time, high-speed rail in America was just a dream, but right now we're funding specific projects, including one that aims to connect Las Vegas to Southern California by 2028 when the Olympics take place. If they can do it there, I think there's no reason it can't happen here. Obviously, this is in an earlier stage, but we're funding some of that planning work because I think this can and should become a reality.
In Texas, I've got to ask you about oil and gas here too. The folks out in the oil patch, the boys in the oil patch, think that you're anti-oil and gas. Climate activists think that you're all about oil and gas and anti-renewables. Which one is it?
Look, sometimes both sides are shooting at you, but we're trying to do the right thing for the future and also recognize the realities of the present. None of us can get to where we're going without depending on the fuel systems, the energy systems that we have. It's why we got to make sure that they're safe and efficient. But of course, we're growing America's renewable energy, and right now under President Biden, the most energy independent that the United States has ever been.
Last question, Mr. Secretary. Preparing for this interview, I ran across something you said on Sunday. When asked whether you might run for the White House again, you said, quote, "I sincerely don't know whether I will run for elected office of any kind again." Are you done with politics?
I honestly don't know what's next. I do know that the job I have right now is, I think, the best job of the federal government. I love doing this work. It's also really demanding. It takes everything I've got. Some days we're out here celebrating a project like this at the Southern Gateway. Other days we're in Baltimore dealing with the heartbreak and what's going on there. It's an incredibly compelling opportunity, and I'm just honored that President Biden's trusted me with this job.
Would you want to roll in a second Biden administration?
Too soon to really talk about that, one thing at a time, but I will say I really believe in what this president has done, and I'm honored to be at his side in this work.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring in the roundtable to discuss the politics of this. Bud Kennedy is here from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Aya Mitra is with us from Austin from the Texas Tribune. And of course, Bernadine Steptoe, political producer at WFAA in Dallas. But I want to start with the last thing you heard Secretary Budaj say there about whether he's going to give up politics. Last week in another Sunday program, he was a little more decisive, it seemed like, that I don't know if I'll ever run for political office again. Do you see this 42-year-old rising star in the Democratic Party doing that?
Well, the Democrats are short on rising stars.
They sure are.
I can't imagine that the party would let him retire at this point. He obviously is building his profile in the South and in Texas right now. He's well positioned to do something, whether it's a run for the top ticket or something else, at least to have a role in the administration, to continue having a role. Something like this, where he goes into the South, these communities where racism led to the paving of highways through communities. They call it urban renewal, but they just bulldoze homes in minority neighborhoods in order to build these highways. They're going to build deck parks over them, put these neighborhoods back together. It's good for the South.
Let's talk about the South for a moment here too, though, because there are 40 states that got this money, but Buttigieg is only visiting so far Alabama and Texas. How much of that is 2024?
I mean, could be part of it, but also there's some projects that really show some impact from this grant program too. Whether it's Dallas or Austin, you're seeing these are things that are like historically divided cities structurally, and so the opportunity to come down and show like how you're breaking that down it's a really compelling thing for Buttigieg to do.
And Bernadine, he said he suggested at least that high-speed rail might be likely. We've talked about that a million times, like we've talked about Texas turning purple. I don't know if either one of these things are actually going to materialize.
Well, but I think that many were happy to hear him say that, because we have talked about it a lot, and then we would love to be able to just jump on a train and get into Houston or Austin in a matter of an hour. So I think that that is a welcome idea, is suggestion. And also, I want to weigh in a little bit on what he said about his future. I think at the beginning he mentioned that he's tired. So I think once he has rest, then he can think about his future. But he said the traveling is just tiring. Yeah.
A lot of it, indeed, in a position like that. A lot more coming up here on Inside Texas Politics, including this.
Coming up next here, Travis County is eliminating property taxes for child care centers. Question is, though, will parents see any of those savings? One of our questions for County Judge Andy Brown in Austin. And keep an eye on Congress this week. Two things specifically to watch for. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez joins us from South Texas. Next on Inside Texas Politics.
We're about to try Golden Chick's Butterfly Shrimp. That's right, shrimp is back, but not for long. Don't wait another year. Get 3 shrimp for just $2.49 or 20 for $12, but only for a limited time.
Golden Chick. Shrimptastic.
I'm gonna be late.
Sorry.
And drive safe out there, as there's plenty of traffic heading to today's big game. almost missed the start of the game.
Right now, qualified buyers get 0% APR financing for 36 months on a rugged new 2024 Tundra. Hurry in today.
Maximize your budget with incredible savings right now at NFM. Buy more, save more. Instantly save up to $1,000 on qualifying appliance purchases. Compare the best brands with help from NFM experts so you can find exactly what you need. Save up to 40% off suggested retail on qualifying appliances. And take advantage of free delivery and setup. Long-term financing options are available. Ovens, dishwashers, refrigerators, washers, and dryers. NFM has hundreds of in-stock appliances. Big selection, big savings. Only at NFM.
Carolina Reaper tacos.
Wow. How did you get them so hot?
Legend says they combine
the heat of 1,000 Texas summers, the kick of a wild Mustang,
a lightning bolt from a West Texas storm,
and just the right amount of Carolina Reaper cheese.
Amazing.
New Carolina Reaper tacos, made with cool cilantro lime sauce and legendary heat.
That's what I like about Texas.
This is a real person seeking a solution to a real problem.
Hi, fine, how are you?
Welcome to the Good Feet store. How can I help?
I have plantar fasciitis. My knees hurt, my hips hurt.
And then she was fit with Good Feet arch supports.
I don't feel any pain anywhere. Good. Seriously, no pain in my knees, my hips, nothing. This is amazing. I don't want to take them off. It just feels like I'm in heaven. Oh, you're a blessing in disguise.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
When change is in the air, we shut the windows.
Even if it's 100 degrees outside.
We don't need our air conditioned.
The seasons can change all they want.
Doesn't mean we have to.
Don't be a holdover. Switch to Champion Energy for fair prices and no hidden fees.
Can we please just switch to Champion Energy?
At TJ Maxx, you can afford to turn your closet into a place of endless expression with the quality, styles, and prices you love. Max what makes you, you.
My Lowe's Rewards credit card saves us 5% on the things we need. 5% off, 5% off, 5% off.
And as loyalty members, we get points toward Milo's money for the things we want.
Oh, we want this.
The all-new Milo's Rewards loyalty program is here. Download the app to join, earn, and save today.
Welcome back to Inside Texas Politics. We will be watching what happens in D.C. this week. Congress returns on Tuesday from a 2-week break. Two things to keep an eye on, though. Will lawmakers finally help Ukraine fight back the Russian invasion? And will House Speaker Mike Johnson lose his job over it? Those are questions we had for Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez, but we started on the border since his district includes 800 miles of it. Congressman, let's start with what happened in El Paso. 200 migrants there arrested for breaching the border. National Guard soldiers were hurt in that incident. Governor Abbott says he wants to arrest every single person involved in that. But these are people fleeing sometimes terrible circumstances. I'm curious whether you think that this breach, this violent breach, is a reflection of Texas's border policies not working.
Jason, thank you for having me back on. And this is where we're at in my district. This is year 4 of this border crisis, and people are exhausted, and they're willing to try things that they weren't willing to try 2 years ago. And there have to be repercussions for people's actions. And we're also seeing different people come over in year 4 than what was happening in year 1. Much more aggressive, much more desperate, and something has to stop. Nobody wants to see this happen. So when they bum rush a National Guardsman or Border Patrol or anyone, there has to be repercussion. The word has to be out that will not be allowed in Texas. So I welcome the governor's response.
When Congress returns on Tuesday, do you expect that the House of Representatives is finally going to give Ukraine the money and supplies it needs to fight off Russia?
I'm not certain. There's been a lot of talk about what Congress is going to do when we get back in session in regards to Ukraine. My position has been you cannot leave an ally on the battlefield to bleed out. There has to be a solution. But also, blank checks don't work either. I've heard from more and more Americans where they feel as if they are last in this equation. What about our border? What about our streets? What about our roads? I think there's a way to settle both of these. And part of this has been this lend-lease idea, is instead of giving away our national treasure, what if we lend them with the idea of getting some of that returned? Or what if we tax the Russians, who are the ones that started this? We've lost track of who started this war. I do think there's a solution here. It's not going to be easy, but once again, leaving our allies to bleed out on the battlefield, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Israel, it doesn't matter who it is always a terrible idea because our adversaries will fill that gap.
Last question for you here, Congressman. Does Speaker Johnson survive the vote on Ukraine, on Israel and Taiwan if all these come together at once?
You know, I'm not concerned about the vacate the chair, maybe while others are. They're trying to keep Speaker Johnson in line, if you will. But at the end of the day, we have to be able to govern. I think this all gets shaken out. We saw the chaos that occurred when we changed speakers. And now is not the time to go down that route again. Now's the time to, how do we have these tough conversations and find real tangible solutions that will keep Americans safe here at home and also keep Americans safe abroad.
Congressman, thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Affordability is not something that Travis County is known for. Real estate is pricey in and around Austin, and so is childcare. It's more expensive there than anywhere else in Texas. This morning, the Travis County Judge Andy Brown on the big break that child care centers are getting so parents can go back to work. Judge, welcome back to the program. How much do you expect this to cost the county in property tax revenue?
Well, so we're doing this because the biggest cost of people, having kids and living their lives is childcare after rent. And so we've recognized that that's a massive burden and a massive expense for people getting into the workforce. So we're trying to make it a little bit easier by hopefully reducing those costs a little bit. So for the county itself, it will probably cost something like $250,000 annually in tax revenue. It's not, but we think that it will help greatly in lowering a little bit the tax burden for businesses that own their places and also businesses that lease from property. We've put a provision in there to make sure that people who rent a childcare facility from an owner will still see some savings in their rent.
I've been in a situation where childcare has taken up a big chunk of my budget for my two children. But I guess the question that a lot of parents might have is there a requirement that these child care centers have to pass those savings along to the clients?
Yeah, that's certainly the hope and the desire. And again, it's $258,000 for all the providers in Travis County. So I don't want to get too far out ahead of thinking that this is going to be a massive savings for any one family. But the idea is that it will lower the burden on people who are operating those centers. We've seen through COVID a reduction in the number of child care centers and frankly, just the supply of child care centers in Travis County. So our hope is not only that this would lower the cost a little bit for people paying for child care, but also would help child care centers that are struggling even to stay open.
Judge, some people might be watching this and say, listen, I don't have kids. This doesn't impact me. But the argument that UT Austin made in a recent study, and the argument I've heard from a lot of folks is, listen, this is a bigger deal for the economy itself. If people don't have a chance to send their kids somewhere at an affordable price, then they may not take part in the marketplace at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you like flying in a first class airport, if you like driving down I-35, if you like using, cell phones that use semiconductor chips, all of those things depend on a great, robust labor force here in Travis County. And if people can't work because they can't afford childcare and they have to make that tough decision, we're worse off as a county. And so we need to make sure that we're helping people get trained for those new jobs that are coming here. And part of that training, I think, is supplying childcare. We do a lot of that through Workforce Solutions, another entity that we help fund here that actually pays for childcare while people are getting job training. But I do think we need to look at ways to expand that because with all of the needs for jobs to be filled here in Travis County, whether you have kids or not, it's important to have a robust workforce. And this, I think, will help a little bit in that direction.
Judge, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate the insight and watching what you're doing in Travis County. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Really appreciate the time.
Reporters Roundtable is ready when we return. And our podcast this week with a legitimate question. Is Ken Paxton unstoppable? Interesting insight from a man who says he is considering running for Attorney General in 2 years. That episode of Y'all-tic's ready to download this morning. You can look for it wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're thinking about replacing your worn-out windows and doors, you want something durable, something beautiful, and something that won't break the bank. Hello. So let's talk about Renewal by Andersen. Trusted since 1995, we've installed more than 10 million windows for more than 1 million homeowners. Why do people choose us? Well, let's talk innovation. Andersen spent years developing our unique Fibrex composite material. It's got the beauty and strength of wood without needing the maintenance. And it's twice as strong as vinyl, which means our custom-built windows resist warping, cracking, and rotting. We're so confident in the engineering behind our windows that we back our products with the nation's best warranty. It covers the glass and Fibrex material in your windows for 20 years, helping keep your home comfortable day in and day out. But what truly sets us apart is our reputation. We're the full-service window replacement division of our parent company, Andersen. So our customers benefit from over 120 years of window making excellence. And because of our size and expertise, we're able to offer special discounts and flexible payment options other companies simply can't match. With Renewal by Andersen, you can have it all, quality and affordability. So when it's time to replace your windows and doors, reach out and let's talk. Looks good, guys. We're gonna put this one up here on the second level here.
Renewal by Andersen has extended our 31-day sale until April 10th. So there's a little time left to save $397 on every window and save $996 on every patio door and entry door. Plus, get an additional 3% off your entire project with no money down, no payments, and no interest for 1 year. This sale ends April 10th. Call 469-899-3400. That's 469-899-3400.
Maximize your budget with incredible savings right now at NFM. Buy more, save more. Instantly save up to $1,000 on qualifying electronics purchases. Compare the best brands with help from NFM experts so you can find exactly what you need. Get up to 40% off suggested retail on select electronics. Take advantage of free delivery on qualifying big screen TV purchases and budget-friendly long-term financing options. Check out our huge selection of electronics. Big selection, big savings. Only at NFM.
Meet a doctor who connects all the dots.
Oftentimes, people with low back pain, knee pain, or hip pain don't even recognize that it's actually coming from their feet.
Their feet? For real?
Absolutely, 100%. It can have a domino effect because their foot and their ankle aren't supported properly. Their whole body is out of whack.
Getting back into whack? Good Feet arch supports could help.
Keeping your body in good alignment, that can go a long way.
See what we can do for you with a free arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
All right, time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Bud, Ian, and Bernadine are back with us. And of course, the big news this week, Bud, is going to be the eclipse. A lot of small towns in Texas, a lot of small infrastructure in Texas. Is this state ready for it, do you think?
Well, obviously there are questions about whether rural counties are ready for it. All these people descending, supposedly up to 1 million visitors in Texas. I think another big question is whether businesses are ready for it. I'm really concerned. The ATMs won't have enough money. There's not enough ATMs. There are not any charging stations for people who drive their Teslas. I don't know if the businesses are ready. Everybody can't go to Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's will be busy, I'm sure. But Ian, I mean, I haven't seen an eclipse, I guess, since 5th grade probably. But is it going to be that many people here in the state, do you think?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what people are anticipating. All the hotels, campsites, lots of things are booked. These local emergency orders are meant to help local officials, deal more with traffic and also potentially access some state resources. Even the state's looking into being ready. So, there's a lot of things that they're trying to prepare for the worst, like with that kind of crowd, cell phone service, all those types of things, can be affected. So they're preparing for a lot of mass traffic.
We shall see, Bernadine. Do you think the state has done enough to help these small towns get ready?
Well, as you say, we shall see, but they should be. And I think that in including the businesses, those travelers, the people who are going there to see the eclipse, they're going to have some experiences that they don't want. But I think that most of the businesses in the rural communities and the state has known about it. So they should have prepared as far as they can. And if not, then the travelers are going to have to go to the next town.
And who knows what the weather's going to do with clouds in the forecast on that day. Bud, let's get into some more politics here, though. UT Austin cleaned house in its DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion office, laying off a number of people. They're told to get rid of anything that even looks like affirmative action. What's going to be the impact for the university and the university system?
Well, of course, the university now can't compare itself to other, not only universities outside the state, but also private universities inside Texas that are doing more to promote diversity and inclusion. I haven't heard of any private universities dismantling their DEI office. So directly UT is at a disadvantage there. It didn't look like the office was getting the results that they wanted, but one of the big things is that these offices help women too, and they help women, assume an equal role. Women are going to be hurt.
Ian, how big of a deal do you think this will become?
Well, it's going to be hard to say in the short term. I think this effort was focused. Senator Brandon Creighton, who authored SB 17, was talking about the need for a more merit-based environment, and so the concerns here are that whether it's going to affect people who, as advocates say, are facing challenges in accessing education. So it's a long-term thing. We have to watch to see if professors are leaving, how student enrollment changes. Those are kind of longer-term things to watch.
And Bernadine, as he said, Senator Creighton said that this should be about merit and nothing else.
It has always been about merit, Jason, because when they were recruiting the people of color or those who benefited from these programs, they were tapping the highest percentage of people of color in those institutions. So it's always been about merit. It's only not about merit when they want to do something as drastically as removing the DEI programs. But also, UTA should not have had to do such a drastic move because the legislators, the lawmakers have been telling them that they had to get rid of these programs.
Sure.
So it's just, but merit is not about, this is not about merit.
Jason, the question is whether now the universities can come back and have programs to help low-income students. So far, we haven't had any indication from the legislature whether that would be accepted. It might be okay.
All right. Bernadine, hold that thought to Sunday. We are out of time.
Low-income or people of color, they don't want that.
Guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, we're back next Sunday to take you inside Texas politics. Enjoy the eclipse. We'll see you next Sunday.